Recording.
Eh,
Hello.
Ayan. Game.
Okay.
Naka-mirror kasi. Ano ba yan?
Flip na lang natin. Madali lang naman. Ano,
Game.
mag-hello
Ay,
muna
game
tayo
na?
sa mga YouTube viewers natin before
Hello. Good
mag-start
morning.
ang good morning.
I mean,
Pero tama, it's very early, Saturday morning.
it's raining, di ba?
Mm. At
Ano?
alam mo, ito lang pag-video natin na nakakapagpaligo sa akin talaga.
Ako din.
Hindi ka man gawaing
Nahiya
maligo
ako sa
ng
itsura
umaga.
ko. Halatang bagong gising. So, naligo muna ako.
Grabe,
Parang
sakripisyo.
trabaho lang. Alam mo yung papasok ka tapos walang ligo-ligo. Ay,
Oo.
work from home to hindi to yung sa regular na trabaho.
Sa work nga, nagigising ako 10 minutes before shift, diretso login. Pero kapag recording natin, nakakaligo ako.
O, di ba?
Grabe,
Kailangan maligo.
dedication. Okay,
Game. Game na?
game
3,
na.
2, 1, go. Hello, welcome creepers. This is Creepsilog.
Patayin sa podcast si Barbara.
We are your hosts. I'm Gideon.
This is Glenn.
Good morning.
Happy Monday.
Here in Creepsilog, we talk about creepy stories, true crime, conspiracy theories, and what else, Glenn?
Documentaries, movies, mystery stories, at kung ano-ano pa.
Yeah, welcome sa mga listeners natin, creepers.
Yes, and welcome sa mga nanonood sa atin sa YouTube.
Oh, wow! I'm not.
Pa-subscribe naman dyan. Kailangan na yung umabot ng
Oo.
1,000
Ay,
subscribers.
pwede na nating magamit yun. Hit that subscribe button.
Ay.
Tapos yung notification bell.
And comment down below.
Oh! Hit like and subscribe.
Oh, yes.
Creepsilog kami sa YouTube. Creepsilog kami everywhere. Pero ayun, Creepsilog sa YouTube.
Yes, do check us out. Sobrang effort
Yeah.
nitong video na to,
So, dito sa Creepsilog, one of us will discuss a story, a topic na creepy, di ba? And then the other one will listen in. Well, minsan alam ng isa, di ba? Minsan hindi, di ba?
Today, hindi
So,
ko
we take
alam.
turns. Ano yan?
Today, hindi ko alam kung anong
Ayun,
kung anong
Yung
story
story.
nun. Alam ko lang yung
Ah,
pangalan.
we take turns every episode yung magdi-discuss. Tapos, towards the end, after the story, ayun, may unpacking na mangyayari. I mean,
Yes.
what are our thoughts, 'di ba, dun sa story na yun?
Yes. Unpacking, unloading. Unload it all over me. We failed to consider na baka may mga nanonood sa video natin na hindi nakikinig sa podcast. Like, they stumbled upon us on YouTube. So,
Oo.
maganda na may konting introduction. Kasi,
So, ayun, ganun yung nangyayari every episode.
may purpose din naman kami. Right.
Tapos may mga tayo, question of the day. Yung mga lingering question tayo. Kasi alam mo yun, hindi naman natin alam lahat, di ba? And hopefully you guys can help us understand.
True. Okay.
Ayun. So how are you, Glenn?
Masaya kasi nakapagpahinga sa work ng one day, may holiday.
Wow, may wala kayong pasok, swerte.
Rejuvenated.
Ay, wow! Fresh na fresh. Naka-beauty rest.
Recharged.
Naka-rest lang eh. Kasi, ayun, nahiya nga ako mag-video ngayon kasi medyo dry yung skin ko.
Ay, pasain mo yan.
Kailangan ng moisture.
Ay,
ano ba? Hindi ko ano yung buhok ko?
I-moisten mo yan.
Ako
nagpagupit ako. Nagpagupit ako.
Oh!
Dati ako lang gumugupit sa sarili ko pero dahil may video.
Meron ka ng pang ganon?
Shaver,
razor.
Yeah.
Ay, at least, di ba, tipid ka sa...
Tsaka yung razor na yun, all around yun.
Are you sure? Gusto mo ba talaga? Gamitin all
Hindi,
over?
kasi dito din, yan, sa ano, sa beard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Akala ko sa kilikili din. Nag-shave ka.
Kili-kili. Ah, ano na.
Okay. Alam mo, gusto mo ba ng
Ay wait, ikaw pala,
intro?
kumusta ka?
Okay lang naman. Ano ba ginawa ko this week? Ay, alam mo ba,
Hmm.
kumain kami ng yung Only dim sum sa may podium. Ang
Hmm.
sarap. So, wala.
Yung ano
Sarap.
ba 'to, yung
Feast Day something.
ano nga
Yun
yung
yata
tawag
yun eh.
tawag
Nakalimutan
sa
ko yun eh.
dim sum, yung parang
Hakaw?
Chinese, um,
Xiaolongbao?
Xiaolongbao, yun ba?
Ayun, oo, Only. Ang sarap. Okay. Gusto kong bumalik. Ayun. Tapos, ayun lang naman. No, yun lang naman ginawa ko.
Ano mga
Kumain.
ano pinanood mo? Ay napanood mo na
Oh!
yung ano, Elisa Lam?
Episode 1 pa lang. And I have to say na may mga nagsasabing hindi okay. Ikaw, natapos mo na ba?
Mm.
Parang wala naman daw bago. Parang yun pa rin naman. Although, yung episode 1 pa lang napanood ko. And siguro yung something na hindi ko nakita before. Well, nakita na natin yung video sa
Mm.
elevator, yung CCTV.
Yeah.
And something na hindi natin ko nakita previously ay yung family ni Eliza Lam. And
Mm.
heartbroken lang na makita yung family niya na confused and alam mo yun, concerned, nalulungkot kasi nawawala yung anak nila. So ayun,
True.
nakakalungkot lang makita yung mukha ng nanay, tatay, nung nung isa pa nilang anak, 'di ba?
Ang observation ko naman, ang dami pala na hindi natin alam na mga panggulo dun sa story, na
Oo.
naggumulo dun sa investigation ng mga unnecessary na mga tao. Kaya parang lumabo na
Natagalan?
lumabo yung story, oo.
Ah,
Pero basta okey din naman siya, although it's unnecessarily long, yung
long.
4 episodes. Parang feeling ko kaya
Parang
siya ng two
ilang episodes
episodes.
lang ba dapat?
Dalawa puwede na.
Dalawa pwede na.
Yeah, but you might still enjoy it.
Ayun.
Hmm.
So, yeah, ayun, catch nyo yung Vanishing. Tama ba
Ah,
yung title ko?
Crime Scene: The Vanishing on Cecil Hotel. Tama ba?
Ayun. Because alam mo naman, Cecil Hotel, talamak ang dyan, mga
Notorious.
kaganapan. Ah,
Right.
okay. So, start na po ba tayo? Gusto mo na ba?
Tara.
Start na po tayo. Okay. Ah, okay. Start na. Di ba? Babasahin ko na ito. Okay. So, hindi ko alam kung paano. Okay, game. Arthur fell from grace once and went to his native London, which was only the only time everyone set themselves against him. Then there's another person, Ragen Vadashkovinic, a Yugoslavian, was a strong man who knew martial arts, which made him do wonders. For some time, Ragen worked with drug dealers, supplying banned substances to the state's prominent men. He always had a safe in the apartment to hide guns, alcohol, and amphetamines from kids. And another one, si Allen. Allen was a painter and a musician. He speaks with no accent, so others don't mind him taking the spot when social intercourse is required. Another one, Tommy, was the most successful one in making money. He spent a lot of time in libraries with Arthur, reading technical handbooks. Danny was a nervous boy and was afraid of men. David was the first one who took the pain caused by violence from the stepfather. Christine had a dyslexia. She was allowed to take the spot when it was safe. Christopher was not very active and he didn't take the spot too often. And lastly, a lesbian named Adalana. She was also a very affectionate. She was also very affectionate and caring. So all these people seem to have different personalities and behavior. However, they have one thing in common. They are all living in a man's head. So no
Ooh.
October 14, 1977, an Ohio State University student had been taken from a campus parking lot at gunpoint. She was raped and forced to write a check from the assailant. The second attack happened 8 days later, and the third only 4 days after that. Noong October 27, 1977, the day following the last attack, one of the victims identified the suspect's face while looking at mugshots, which, combined with a fingerprint on one of the victim's scars, the suspect named Billy Milligan was arrested. However, at the time of his arrest, the suspect was unaware of what he had done. Elliot Boxerbaum, the then OSU police investigation supervisor, who read to suspects his rights and rode with him to Columbus Police Headquarters, said, and I quote, I couldn't tell you what was going on, but it was like I was talking to different people at different times. After a long period of interrogation, it was found that Billy was actually put to sleep during the robbery and rape. Ragen planned only to rob the victims in order to pay some bills, and it was Adalana who took over and raped the victims. We are not talking about three different people. We are talking about a person suffering from dissociative identity disorder or DID. This is the curious case of Billy Milligan, the first person that had been acquitted of criminal charges for the reason of insanity, and how he can be anyone he wants to be except himself.
Oh
Yeah.
shit. Legit. Napawalang sala siya.
Yeah.
Right?
Plea of insanity and proven nga. Tapos ayun, hindi na siya na-convict.
So it's not an act. Totoo.
Oo. Ayun. So, ito parang marami siyang personality, 'di ba?
Mm.
Yung taong 'to. Ito nga
I,
yung mga minention natin mga names
si
ng mga
I,
iba-ibang. Ito yung
ayan.
mga names ng iba-iba niyang personality. Si Arthur, si Ragen, si Allen, si Tommy, si Danny, si David, Christine, Christopher, and Adalana. Pero yung mga gumawa ng crime, sila Ragen na ng rob, and then si Adalana yung ng rape.
Yeah.
Sabi nga ni Billy Milligan, I thought I was dead and then I woke up and found myself in jail. So, trigger warning pala kasi we will be talking about self-harm and rape. So, ayun.
Okay.
Ah, ingat yan. Trigger warning.
Ano ulit yung dissociative
Identity disorder.
identity disorder.
Ay, ano ginagawa mo?
Ingay-ingay
Nagtatype ka ba?
mag-notes. Sorry.
Ba't ka-
Hindi kasi magtatanong ka mamaya eh.
Ay, hindi naman. May exam.
Recitation. Pero
Asan ba
okay,
yung
this
index
is
card ko?
exciting. Okay.
Yeah. So, sino ba si Billy Milligan? Diba?
Okay.
We'll go back nung kabataan niya. Well, so, siya si William Stanley Milligan or simply Billy Milligan. He was born on Valentine's Day noong 1955. Wow, happy
Ayun, happy
Valentine's. Nagse-celebrate na rin
Valentine's.
pala tayo. Aquarius baby siya. Oh, shout out, siya. Pinanganak siya sa Miami, Florida. His father, Johnny Morrison, is a gambler and an alcoholic. And his mother, Dorothy Milligan, ay lumipat lang sa Miami from Lancaster, Pennsylvania after a divorce do sa first husband niya. Nagtrabaho siya sa Florida as a singer. So si Johnny Morrison, was under a huge debt and suffered from depression due to uh just dun sa mga problema niya sa pera saka sa gambling. And he committed suicide when Billy was just 4 years old. Well, actually, 2 times niyang ginawa. Second time, naging successful siya. Billy was just 4 years old. After his father's death, Billy witnessed his mother dating different men. And when she got married to Chalmer Milligan noong 1963, dito na naranasan ni Billy yung maraming uri ng pang-aabuso na nagkaroon ng malaking impact dun sa kanyang mental health. His new stepfather turned out to be a cruel person who was inclined to violence and sadism. So, nung 6 years old si Billy, he was raped by his stepfather. Oh my, no. And that wasn't just it. As per reports, Charmer, I think stepfather niya, si Chalmer Milligan, brutalized and tortured Billy by burying him alive and hanging him by his toes and fingers. And all these accusations were denied by Chalmer. Pero ayun yung accusation. Ayon din pa sa mga research, silent muna tayo. Nakalimutan pala. Yung mga traumatic experiences ni Billy, yun yung naging dahilan. Kaya at an early age of 8, Billy's personality began to split. Each personality spawned in his mind was a guardian of a particular state of mind. For example, yung 8-year-old na si David, yun yung isa niyang personality. So bata pa lang yung isa niya, was the keeper of pain. So whenever he's in pain, David will take the spot para siya yung sponge, tagasalo ng lahat ng pain. Okay, nasa na ako? Ayun. And a man with a Yugoslavian accent was the keeper of hate, si Ragen. He was in fact artistically talented and his IQ was 150, which has been classified under the genius category. Due to the alarming behavior, Billy was often got into trouble. He got suspended from junior high school and when he once admitted to a mental hospital. And he was once admitted to a mental hospital. Billy was reported to be so disruptive that he was compelled to be thrown out of it by hospital authorities. He even joined the Navy pero na-discharge din siya dun sa account of his failure to adapt to his naval life. Billy lost control of his body at the age of 16 when he tried to attempt suicide for the first time. So Arthur and Dragon, being in his body, put down the main owner and made him sleep. After Billy fell asleep, the number of active personalities increased. And these personalities led Milligan to the prison for the first time. Noong 1975, Billy Milligan was imprisoned at Lebanon Correctional Institution in Ohio for armed robbery. He was released on parole in early 1977, and he was also forced to register as a sex offender. However, more crimes under Billy's identity were committed. So at the age of 16, parang wala na siya mostly sa body niya. Iba-ibang tao na yung nagte-take over. Kaya ang nag-take over na itong sila Ragen, na siya yung mga gumagawa ng mga crime. So ano nga ba yung crime? Ayun, na registered sex offender na din siya. Siguro si Adalana yon, yung nag-take over nung time na yon.
Yung lesbian.
Oo. So ano nga ba yung crime na commit para mahuli siya? In October of 1977, the Ohio State University campus has been shaken by a series of kidnap and rape incidents. In just a span of 8 days, Two young women had been kidnapped from the campus at gunpoint between 7 and 8 o'clock in the morning. Each had been driven into the countryside, raped, and then robbed. The first victim was the 25-year-old optometry student Carrie Dreyer. The second, a 24-year-old nurse named Donna West. So no October 22, 1977, University Police Chief Glon Kleberg placed the area of Ohio State University's medical school on a heightened alert. Heavy police security had been implemented in the campus. Women were warned to be more careful and to remain with company as much as possible. So tension in the university community mounted as the police still got no significant leads nor suspects. The media had begun to refer to the assailant as the campus rapist. Kleberg, the OSU chief police, put Elliot Boxer Baum in charge of the manhunt. As Boxer Baum and Kleberg examined the photographic composites and data provided by the two victims, those seemed to point to a single assailant, which they assumed to be a white American male between 23 and 27, weighing 175 to 185 pounds, with brown or reddish brown hair. Both times the man had worn a brown jogging top, a jeans, and white sneakers. So si Carrie, yung unang victim, remembered that the rapist carried a small revolver. He handcuffed her to the inside door of her car and drove her to a desolate country area where he raped her. After the rape, he told her, and I quote, "If I see anything in the newspaper, I'll send someone after you." Si Donna naman, yung second victim, said na her assailant carried an automatic pistol and said that his name was Phil. He cursed a lot. He wore brown tinted sunglasses and he never saw his eyes. He warned her that if she identified him, she or someone in the family would be harmed by the Brotherhood. The police assumed he was talking about the mafia. So, parang based dun sa description ng mga victims para magkaibang tao itong umatake sa kanila. And Brotherhood, very ano no, Magneto. Uh, then, no October 26, 1977, oy, happy birthday. Another woman named Pauline Newton, age 21, had been abducted just behind her apartment near the campus at about 8 o'clock in the morning. After she parked her boyfriend's car, she was forced back inside and told to drive out to an isolated area in the countryside where she was raped. Her assailant then made her drive back to Columbus to cash two checks before having her drive back to the campus area. So the crime scene search unit dusted Polly's car for fingerprints. And they found three partial prints with sufficient ridge detail to be used for comparison with any future suspects. So si Polly had been asked to describe her assailant with the department artist for the composite drawing and to look through mugshots of white male sex offenders but had no access with it. Ay, sorry. Tama. On the scene of the rape, the detectives found a 9 millimeter bullet casing near the edge of the pond. That, Polly told one of the detectives, was where the man had fired his gun at some beer bottles he had tossed into the water. The police also asked Donna to go through the mugshots. Halfway through, si Donna, again, yun yung second victim na. So, ayun, hanap-hanap sa mugshots. Halfway through the compilation, Donna hesitated at a picture of a handsome youth with mutton chop whiskers and dull staring eyes. She jumped. That's him! That's him! I'm positive. Okay, so nakilala niya yung assailant niya doon sa mugshot. The police also asked Detective Nikki Miller of Central Police Station, assigned to the assault squad, then checked the ID number of the photograph against the records and found out the name, William S. Milligan. She then slipped the identity photograph into a tray Polly had not yet looked through. If Polly picked out the same mugshot, they had the campus rapist. So, napili ni Donna si Billy out of all the mugshot. And then yung another victim, si Polly, yung third victim, pinatingin din sa kanya yung maraming mugshot. Yung same na tinignan ni Donna. When Polly reached halfway point, she stopped at Milligan's face, then went past it. Then Polly turned the photos back and looked again at the young man with the mutton chop whiskers. Tapos ang sabi niya, that looks like him but I can't say for sure. So, tinuro niya yung picture ni Billy Milligan. Pero yun yung sinabi niya. Parang siya, pero parang hindi. Hindi ako sure. Ganun. Polly was uncertain but the fingerprints came up. The prints on the of the right index finger lifted from the outside glass of the car's passenger door, and the right ring finger and right palm were Milligan's. They finally found the sleeky man behind this terror.
Siyempre kahit
So parang
ilang personality meron ka, yung fingerprints mo isa lang.
Oo nga eh. So yeah, huli pa din. The police called the SWAT team to plan the arrest. They've known that Milligan is living in an apartment sa 5673 Old Livingston Avenue in Reynoldsburg, Ohio. So Officer Craig of the SWAT team suggested a gimmick. So he would pose as a delivery boy ng pizza and then knock on Milligan's door. And they would try to look inside the apartment once the suspect opened it to find out if how many people are living with him. Kasi nga, di ba sabi ng isang victim, brotherhood daw, di ba?
Yeah.
Re-resbackan ka ng brotherhood pag nagsumbong ka. So, just to be sure, they wanna check kung totoo nga ba, kung madami ba, para ma-assess nila kung paano hulihin.
Right.
The team proceeded with the operation, and upon verifying that it was Milligan who was living in the apartment, they immediately arrested him. When the police searched the place, they found the brown jogging top and the brown tinted sunglasses in the bedroom, along with Donna's and Carrie's credit cards. They also found a painting that was signed Milligan. When the officers told Milligan about his crime, his only response was, "Did I do that? Did I hurt anyone? If I hurt someone, I'm sorry." So si Boxer Bomb, he read Milligan's rights and rode him to Columbus Police Headquarters. He said, "I couldn't tell you what was going on, but it was like I was talking to different people at different times." When Milligan was brought into the station, a police grabbed his hands to begin the fingerprinting. He then jerked back suddenly and then went behind the policewoman as if he was seeking for protection and said, "I don't want to be touched by him." So, nagtago siya no, during the fingerprint. Billy continuously rejected the accusations. Sabi niya he was unaware of what he had done, and in the course of preparing for his defense, he underwent a psychological examinations. So itong mga doctors who interrogated Billy during his trial described that they encountered totally different persons. With the awakening of different personalities, he used to change his accent, intonation, and pose. Doctors also concluded that lesbian personality Adalana used to have yung personality na yon, si Adalana, committed rape because she wanted to be close to someone. In contrast to this, none other personality in him was aware of what she has done. So yun, hindi alam ng mga ibang personality yung ginagawa nung iba, kung sino man yung nasa spot.
Mhm.
What came next made national headlines. Milligan's public defenders, Gary Schweikart and Judy Stevenson, decided that he should plead not guilty by reason of insanity, a move that even the prosecution didn't contest. So according to sa psychiatrist's testimony in court, Milligan had been in a state of slumber for most of the last 7 years, and that the crimes actually had been committed by two other personalities who sometimes used to quote unquote take over and use his body. Psychologist Dorothy Turner of Southwest Community Mental Health Center concluded that Milligan was suffering from multiple personality disorder or DID, yung dissociative identity disorder, as a result of the alleged severe physical and sexual abuse as a child by his stepfather. So ano nga ba yung nangyayari kay Billy Milligan? So, Milligan was diagnosed with multiple personality disorder or dissociative identity disorder, DID. At as it was renamed sa Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 4th edition, text revision. Ayun, taray, meron tayong research. DSM-IVTR. DID is a rare disorder that causes an individual known as the host personality to have at least two distinct personalities or identities existing within them. Each personality or alter has their own gender, age, and race, as well as their own thoughts, emotions, and physiological reactions. Some alters have been known to have different accents, and or different abilities to the host. For example, yung isa magaling mag-paint, magaling kumanta, tapos yung isa naman na usually hindi kaya nung host, hindi kaya ni actual Milligan, ni Billy Milligan. When the alter is in control, the individual is generally unaware of what the alter is doing or thinking. Individuals with DID have at least two identities but can have as many as 100, with 10 being the average number. It is believed that the dissociative identity disorder occurs as a way to cope with the severe childhood trauma, such as physical and or sexual abuse. In order for a child to deal with the trauma, he or she detaches or dissociates themselves from the memory in order to protect themselves psychologically. This detachment can become so extreme that it develops into separate and distinct personalities that can emerge in response to further psychological stresses. However, there's a controversy as to whether DID is a real disorder, even though it is listed as such sa DSM-IVPR. Many psychiatrists questions its validity as a disorder for a number of reasons. Kasi daw, only 3% of psychiatric hospital patients have been diagnosed with it. And the majority of child abuse victims never developed the disorder. And many DID sufferers were never abused as children. So, based dun sa nabasa natin, no, na some question its validity kasi hindi siya gano'n kadalas. Wala, siguro marami pang question about this kung paano ba talaga nagkakaroon ng DID, 'di ba? Kasi medyo conflicting na hindi naman lahat ng abused as a kid nagkakaroon nito or 'di ba?
True. Tsaka siguro kahit maka-encounter ka, kahit sobrang uncommon, 'di ba? Pag na in the event na maka-encounter ka, ang hirap i-prove kung
Mm.
totoo ba na may multiple personality siya or 'di ba, acting lang.
Yeah,
Mm,
or ayun, siguro kailangan magpa-diagnose din talaga
yan.
para sure.
Mm.
So ano-ano nga ba yung mga alters ni Billy? Ikaw ba, marami ka bang alters? So, siyempre, the 10. Number 1 si Billy Milligan. Siya yung
Yes.
host.
Yung prime.
Core personality, yeah. Second, si Arthur. Si Arthur, siya yung 22-year-old extremely sophisticated and educated Englishman. Wow.
Mm.
An expert in science and medicine with a focus on hematology. He was in the spot that is in charge of the shared body. during times that required intellectual thinking.
Oh.
Arthur was one of the only two personalities who could classify a person in the group as undesirable. So next naman si Ragen van Vadaskovich. He was the keeper of hate. Yung name niya comes from the word rage again, kaya Ragen. Ragen described himself as a Yugoslavian, has a Slavic accent, can write and speak in Serbian, and was extraordinarily strong. He controlled the spot in dangerous times and can designate group members as undesirable. He admitted committing to robbery in order to support the family, but had no knowledge of the rapes. Si Allen naman, 18-year-old con man and a manipulator. He was the most common person to talk to the outside world. He played the drums and painted portraits. He was also the only right-handed self. Huh? So the rest left-handed na.
Ooh, okay.
And he was the only personality that smokes cigarettes. Next naman si Tommy, 16 years old, an escape artist. He was often confused with Allen. He played the tenor sax and was an electronics expert. He was also a painter specialized in landscapes. Si Danny, a 14-year-old who loved to draw. He was afraid of people, especially men. He only painted still life and never painted landscape. Magkaaway ba sila ni Tommy? Okay. He said this because Chalmer, yung stepfather ni
Mm.
Billy, made him dig his own grave and
Oh,
buried him
okay.
in it. So David, age 8, siya yung keeper of pain. He comes to the spot to take the pain of the others. Another is Christine, age 3. 3 lang pala si Christine. Was the one who would stand in the corner in school when Billy would get in trouble. He had dyslexia, but Arthur taught her to read and write. Yung isa niya pang personality.
Mm.
Ragen had a special bond with her. So close sila ni Ragen. Another si Christopher, 13, Christine's brother, played the harmonica. Si Adalana, a 19-year-old lesbian who cooked and cleaned the house for the others and wrote poetry. Milligan's attorney claimed that Adalana had admitted to committing the rapes without the knowledge of Billy Milligan or the other alters. And then, meron pang isa pang category. And actually, ang sabi, 24 lahat ng personalities ni
Hmm?
Billy. Ito yung isang category. Ayun yung common, yung first 10. Tama ba? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Yeah,
6,
10.
7, 8, 9. Ayan, yung first 10. And then yung mga undesirables. Undesirables kasi they were labeled after breaking the rules laid down by Ragen and Arthur. So meron na silang kanya-kanya nag-uusap na sila.
Mm.
Siguro sa head ni Billy.
Mm.
May meeting no? Undesirable kasi nag-break sila ng rule set up by Ragen and Arthur. These alters were no longer allowed to take the spot. Sila yung nasa limelight nung may control ng body ni Billy. And only revealed themselves after Billy Milligan was sent to the hospital. So that was the only time na lumabas sila. So, andito si Phil, a thug, and took part in planning some small-time crimes, had the Brooklyn accent, and marked undesirable due to him being a criminal. I mean, grabe. Yun talaga, na parang parang ang kapal naman ng mukha nila Arthur and Dragon na itag na undesirable si Phil due to crimes. Si Kevin naman, a criminal planner, he helped devise a plan to rob a drugstore and labeled undesirable din dahil criminal din daw siya. Si Walter, another alter, was Australian. He called himself a big game hunter and had excellent sense of direction. He was often used as a spotter. He was labeled undesirable because he shot and killed a crow. Okay. Another undesirable si April only had thoughts about destroying Billy's stepfather. declared undesirable when she convinced Ragen to kill Chalmer Milligan. Arthur was able to talk him out of it because of before the tragedy. So hindi na to. So alam mo may plano pala silang patayin si Chalmer.
Mm.
Napigilan lang ni Ragen.
Yung stepfather.
Oo, papatayin dapat nila yung stepfather dahil nga sa mga ginagawa kay Billy. Another one, si Samuel, was a Jewish person and only one who believed in God. He was marked undesirable because he sold some of other people's personal belonging. So, parang magnanakaw na ano no, parang ganon, tapos ibebenta sa iba. Mark was the workhorse. He was often referred to as a zombie because he did nothing unless he was told and stares at the wall when bored.
Sayang yung
At
spotlight sa'yo, sabi.
oo, in
Titig ka lang
assignment
pala sa...
time. Parang ang daming may gusto to take the spot tapos ikaw nakatunganga ka lang.
True.
Si Steve naman, an impostor, he used imitation for comedy. Steve never accepted that he was an MP. Ano yung MP?
Multiple personality.
Oh! He was made to be undesirable because his comedy caused the family problems. Okay, ano kaya? Bakit kaya?
Hindi ka nakakatuwa, sabi.
Ano
Corny
yun?
mo.
Ang corny mo, nababadtrip yung mga tao, kaka-joke mo. Another alter, si Lee, a prankster, and his practical jokes normally get the family into trouble. O ganun din. He did not care about consequences of his action. I mean, he was made an undesirable because one of his jokes put them into solitary confinement. Okay.
Pahamak.
Oo. Jason naman, another alter, was the pressure valve. He was used at the beginning to release tension for the family, but he caused them to get into too much trouble and was marked undesirable. Another alter, si Bobby, always dreamt of leading some adventure or fixing some global crisis, but he had no ambition and was labeled due to the fact. Si Sean naman, 4 years old and deaf, made buzzing sound so he can feel the vibration in his head. He was labeled undesirable because there was no benefit from being deaf later on in life. Grabe naman.
Grabe.
So parang ayaw nilang mag-take the spot si Sean kaya ginawa siyang undesirable. So even though he was undesirable, he was never cast into the shadows beyond the spot. He was just never allowed to take the spot. Si Martin naman was a snob from New York. He wanted things just handed over to him without earning them. And then Timothy worked in a florist shop until he encountered a gay man who flirted with him. He went into his own world after that. Okay, umalis na siya. Lived happily ever after na si Timothy.
Sumama dun sa gay man.
Oo. And lastly, ang tawag sa kanya, the teacher. Although hindi ito undesirable, si teacher, the teacher was by far the greatest milestone to helping Billy Milligan achieve fusion. He was the sum of all the 24 personalities put together and had almost total recall of all other people's action and thoughts. So si teacher yung may
Kabuuan.
control ng lahat, alam niya lahat. Siya yung most powerful sa lahat ng mga personality.
I see. Siya na yung last.
Oo, siya na yung last.
Sinong
So,
favorite mo sa sa mga
naku, ang dami nila,
personalities?
no?
Favorite ko si Martin kasi attitude lang siya. Wala na siya ginawang masama. Attitude lang.
Oo. Wait, si Martin?
Ayun sabi niya, he wants everything handed to him. Yun lang.
Teka.
Yun lang ang kasalanan niya.
Oo, snob from New York. Gusto ko
Snob.
si Bobby kasi parang may pagka-superhero. Parang gusto niyang, to fix some global crisis. Ganun.
Sabi.
Si Martin yung parang pabebe mo arte, no? Nakaupo lang, tapos nag-uutos, yung gusto may yaya. So this was the first time under which dissociative identity disorder was being used as a general defense under the insanity clause to get amnesty from the court of law, even after the commitment of a heinous crime by the accused. So after trial, Billy was sent to a series of state-run mental hospital. And by 1988, the doctors who were treating him said that his personality had been fused back together. And he
Mm.
left the hospital, although he continued to receive outpatient treatment for several more years, getting the final release noong 1991. So yun yung date na release na talaga siya.
Mhm.
Milligan lived in California for some time and did cinematographic business. His company went bankrupt and Billy disappeared from public view. He stopped interacting with his acquaintances and did not even withdraw the money that was returned to his account after paying debts. Uh, the last known Milligan's place of being was the nursing home, and he died noong 2014 due to cancer.
Mm.
So, ayun. Gumaling naman din siya eventually.
Napagsama-sama yung mga ano niya,
Oo. And
personalities.
that is the curious case of Billy Milligan, the man with 24 personalities.
Shucks. Ang
I
dami.
would like to thank Mike Andres kasi siya yung nag-suggest nito sa akin. And ang tagal na nito, parang July last year. Niya sinuggest.
Yeah. And thank you kay Jewel.
And thank you kay Jade. Oo, tama. Kasi tinulungan niya tayo dito sa Billy
Mm.
Milligan episode natin. Maraming salamat, Jade
Thank you,
and Mike.
Jade and Mike. Ayan, so time to
Ayun.
unpack.
So, grabe. Ito na yung unpacking and unloading all over the
Loading.
place. So, wow. Nung sinuggest sa akin to, parang sinabi niya, "Oy, ito, Billy Milligan, siya yung first na na-acquit
Mm.
uh, or parang hindi na-convict dahil sa insanity plea." And chinek ko din. Sabi ko, oh my God, so yun pala. Meron siyang 24 personalities. And proven, totoo.
Yeah.
Teka, search ko nga.
Ang ano lang, no?
Ah,
Sige, go.
sige, sige. So, nung nire-research, nung binabasa natin to, parang ina-imagine ko yung split
Yeah, yung
ni
movie.
M. Night Shyamalan. Oo. Alam
Shyamalan.
mo yung when somebody's taking over, di ba?
May spotlight, may literal na ano.
Oo.
Yeah.
Tapos iba-iba ng age, iba-iba ng gender. Yun,
Mm.
ganun yung personality niya. Madami.
What's really interesting is yung mga personas, they have their own traits, may sarili silang skills, may accent. Eh, di
Mm.
ba ang hirap i-fake nun? I mean, well, yung
Mm.
accent pwede, pero yung biglang you know this language na hindi alam nung iba. Biglang
Mm.
right-handed ka when everybody else is left-handed. Yung mga ganun, di ba?
Mga skills din, 'di ba? Yung marunong ka mag-play ng sax, 'di ba? Marunong ka mag-paint, marunong ka
True.
ay kumanta, ayun.
Magaling mag-sax. Saxophone.
Oo. Saxophone,
Yeah.
yeah.
What do you think?
Ikaw ba, what can you say dito sa case ni Billy Milligan? Sorry, bakit?
Nag-uuna na. Ah, okay. So, I think everybody's going to agree na ang simula talaga nun is yung abuse sa kanya when he was just a kid. Di ba? Parang yun
Mm.
yung inciting incident na nag-lead sa ganito, I think. Parang
Mm.
yung trauma kasi 'di ba? It really makes way for mga ganito klaseng um, disorders. I read something before na napanood ko ba or nabasa ko. Sabi nung victim while she was being raped, and I'm sorry this is the trigger warning dito, pero she was saying to herself na I'm not here while the rape was happening. Kasi sobrang, yun yung one way niya to cope na hindi nangyayari sa akin to. It's happening to my body pero wala ako dito. Yung parang ganun na it's a way of protecting yourself, your consciousness, taking refuge inside yourself. It's one way of coping. Maybe ganun nagsisimula yon, na parang dahil sa
Mm.
nangyayaring yon, you found a way to hide within yourself. Tapos may isang personality na nag-emerge, nag-take over para siya yung mag-handle ng mahirap na bagay na nangyayaring yon. And then, wala na. If you lose control, kung sino-sino na yung nagte-take over, and who knows kung saan sila nanggagaling, 'di ba? Are they part of your brain? Nasa utak mo na sila even before? Are they patterned sa some real life na person na subconsciously nasa store sa utak mo tapos biglang nagiging it's their own person? Are they manifestations of your parts of yourself, like yung childhood mo magiging batang personality siya, naging siyang si David, 'di ba? Or si ano, Danny, yung mga ganun. So, feeling ko kapag if we assume na ganito talaga yung nangyayari, na totoo talaga nangyari sa kanya, feeling ko ganun yun nagsisimula. Ikaw ba?
Oo, I mean, I have to agree kasi totoo nga yung sinabi mo na if something's happening to you, parang that's your only defense, eh, yung to take your mind out of it, na magtago within your head. 'Di ba nga 'pag may nangyayari, "Is this a dream?" Parang may
Mm.
gano'n, "Totoo ba nangyayari 'to, na nangyayari sa'kin?" And nakakalungkot lang na yung mga ginawa sa kanya ng erpat niya,
Yeah.
rape, and then made, uh, to dig up his own grave and then be buried alive. Yung
Mm.
I mean, bakit gagawin sa bata yun?
Kaya nga.
Ang ang sick lang, 'di ba, if you think about it, na gano'n yung na-experience niya, and that led him na, to have split personalities. And curious lang din dun sa iba-ibang mga personalities niya. Well, especially dun kay ano, kay Adalana. Kasi siya yung nag-commit ng rape din, and a lesbian na pero ang description sa kanya, siya yung affectionate, siya yung caring, pero still, she end up, raping those victims. Teka, buksan ko nga, nag-lock. Ayan. She end up raping those victims. Parang ang ano yun, ironic lang na
Mm.
somebody na ganito ang personality pero siya din yung gumawa ng masama.
Yeah. Ang interesting lang na ang dami mong personalities ta's ang daming kriminal. Bakit bakit puro sila kriminal? Bakit walang interior decorator,
Uy, meron naman. I
mga
mean, hindi naman lahat kriminal.
may pageant organizer, yung mga taong nabubuhay ng tiktokerist. Ba't
TikTokeries.
ba't kailangan may nagdodroga, may rapist, ganyan.
Well, kasi siguro dahil nga din sa mga na-experience niya, 'di ba, na-expose na siya at an early age
Yeah, sabagay. If
sa
it's a
mga
negative,
ganito.
yeah.
Puwede kayang magka-DID pero magaganda yung nangyayari sa'yo, gano'n? Hindi, I mean, wala namang abuse na nangyari, basta meron ka lang DID. Naku, ang hirap nito, dapat
Di ko
nandito yung ano, eh,
ma-imagine.
'no, pop.p 'no?
Oo nga, eh, nakaka-miss naman sila Angela.
Although, ah, na-touch natin itong DID, 'di ba, sa Popsilog. So go check out, pop.p, yung episode namin with pop.p. It's called
Yeah,
Popsilog.
pop sila. Pop That He with Angela, Marvin, and sino nga isa? Hindi ko maalala.
Ay, di ko maalala. Kifi?
Kifi, charot lang.
Oo, ayan.
Ayan. Alam mo, nabasa ko before, if you have, one way na you can tell na baka meron kang multiple personality disorder or DID is if you have memory loss. Parang extended periods of time na wala kang maalala.
Oh, 'pag super tagal.
O
Counted
kasi
ba ko yan? Ay, nakalimutan ko saan ko nakalagay yung eyeglasses ko, mga gano'n.
hindi dapat yung halimbawa, parang ikaw kanina hindi mo maalala ginawa mo nung weekend.
Ah,
Hala ka.
oo.
So tama ba may alter ka?
Ba't bigla napunta dun?
alternate persona. Kasi yun yung
Yeah,
yun
alternate
yung siya yung
persona.
nag-weekend para sa'yo,
Oo,
gano'n.
ang lungkot naman
So,
nun tapos
ikaw
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 nagtatrabaho.
yung trabaho, 'pag trabaho ikaw, 'pag weekend sila.
Tapos 'pag weekend ibang personality, ang daya, hindi mo
Ang
na-experience.
gago.
Yeah,
Tapos
kasi
hmm,
may nakakalimutan ko mag-lock 'pag nagsi-CR ako.
hmm,
Parang maraming beses na nangyayari na
na,
maka unlocked siya, yung CR, yung pinto ng CR 'pag maliligo ako.
oh,
Wala lang, kasi ba't ko nakakalimutan, 'di ba?
ah, ah, I think habit lang yun.
Okay. Hindi pa
Hmm,
kailangan long periods of time, as in yung parang katulad
oo,
ng nangyari kay Billy na he was put to quote unquote
hmm,
sleep,
yeah,
'di
'pag
ba?
nagising
Nawala
siya
siya
nahuli na siya, yan.
unaware siya sa mga nangyayari.
Ayan, parang yun nga paggawaan ng krimen sila Adalana, sila Ragen, pero 'pag hulihan na, si Billy na
Si
ulit,
Billy,
babastos mo.
kawawa naman, mga gago kayo.
Kaya nga. Alam mo yung mga
Eh, ikaw
ganito
ba, may mga alters ka ba?
wala. Hindi pero pero madalas ako nagdi-dissociate. Alam mo yung kapag meeting sa office ta's alam kong pagagalitan kami. Sabihin ko,
Oh.
wala ako dito, I'm somewhere else."
Oo, parang you're thinking about something else,
Mm,
puwede ba yun?
think happy thoughts, ganyan.
Oo, parang napunta ako ng ibang place sa beach, ganyan,
Oo.
habang pinapagalitan ako. Para
Or
hindi mo maririnig.
totoo. Yung halimbawa, kakausapin ko tungkol sa performance niyo ta's alam mong kulelat ka. Parang nakatingin ka lang sa wall tapos iniisip mo, "Nasa ano ako ngayon, eh, sa Enchanted Kingdom ako
Kung
ngayon."
walang pandemic, nandito ako ngayon, eh.
Oo, yung gano'n. So,
Parang
pero I think, clearly magkaiba ang multiple personality disorders sa just having different moods, 'di ba, na na-experience natin yun na parang one day you don't feel like yourself, parang
you don't feel like
today
talking, mga gano'n.
oo, yan yung ibang ugali mo nung araw na yun. Halimbawa, today emo ka, may Chemical Romance ka, ganyan.
Mm.
Kinabukasan chromatic ka, yung mga pero it's still you, parang hindi siya DID. Ano yun,
Oo, parang
dissociative.
may
Hmm,
line dapat, 'di ba, drawn. Kasi para ma-distinguish mo kung DID ba talaga or it's just you din talaga,
true.
na
Ayun.
ayan yung pinag-aaralan nila.
Ikaw ba, feeling mo prone ka ba na magkaroon ng DID? Is it a possibility for you?
Naku, bilang lumaki na may abuse,
Ay naku, si Yaya
baka, naku,
Percy.
naku, shoutout Yaya Percy. Pero, baka nga 'no, na nadi-dissociate din naman ako, yung gano'n yung iniisip ko especially 'pag papagalitan or 'pag may nagawa kang mali or ano pa ba, yung mga bagay na ayaw mong marinig, yung
Hmm,
mga I told you so moments na ayaw mong
ah,
marinig.
or yung nagre-regret ka kasi bakit ko
Oo.
ba sabi nga ni Shaggy, "It wasn't me."
'Di ba?
May
It was
may pa
Patricia.
She caught me on the counter.
It was Patricia,
It
eh, 'di
was
ba, sa
Patricia,
Split.
sisihin siya, yeah.
Oo, and oo nga, yun pala yung mga popular na media na mapapanood natin, Split, 'di ba?
Oo.
Meron pa akong isa, pero ayokong sabihin kasi spoiler.
Ano 'to? I-chat mo nga ngayon.
Okey. Although hindi naman siya din popular,
Ano 'to? Nakaka-intriga na.
Indian TV show siya,
I'm
nasa
sorry,
Amazon.
hindi ko 'to napanood for sure.
Oo, pero yun, oo.
I see, okey. Alam
And
mo
also,
hmm,
ah,
sige, sige, go.
most ng research dito ay galing sa popular book ni wait, ah, I'm looking for it, The Minds of Billy Milligan by Daniel Keyes. Nasa YouTube din kasi siya, eh, may audiobook dun. Ah, share ko ba yung link? Pero ayan, na na o kahit i-search niyo na lang, eh, parang ilang konting parts lang siya,
Yeah,
audiobook ng, The Minds of Billy Milligan.
true. And if you're really interested in seeing this, may mga YouTube videos, may mga nakita ako dati na people na sinasabi nila, they claim na nag-emerge yung different personalities nila while filming for YouTube.
Oo nga eh.
Habang nagsasalita sila, tapos biglang mag-iiba yung boses nila, mag-iiba yung accent nila, may biglang
Mag-iiba yung
iiyak.
stance.
Yes,
Oo.
yung mood. Pero yung iba medyo fake. Alam mo yun? So, hindi ako naniniwala
Or,
dun sa
or
iba.
baka acting lang din talaga. I mean, hindi naman nila
Yeah.
sinasabing totoo.
Tapos, yun nga nakakatakot dito eh. Kasi, what if yung nangyari kay Billy, it becomes a precedent for other criminals na kung siya he didn't parang get the full extent nung ano niya punishment niya, you can fake it and say na may multiple personality disorder ka, iba yung gumawa ng krimen as a way to escape prison time, which is 'di ba ang ano, what if people try to replicate that, pero sana naman hindi, or sana there's a way of telling na you're just faking it.
Sabi naman daw dito, yung insanity plea sa
Mm.
Pilipinas, no guarantee to exempt an individual from criminal liability. Eh,
So
parang kailangan na naman
mm,
natin si Carissa dito, and si Ian.
actually si Madam Caridad, si
Ah, si
Attorney
Madam
Caridad,
Caridad. Oo.
may
Pero
split
yeah.
personality din yan, eh. Kasi
Ay
'di ba
nako, 'di ba
may
nga?
Carissa, may
Ah,
Caritha, may Caridad.
nako. Nako,
Mm,
nagbabadya na pala si
oo.
Carissa.
Kaya tingnan mo 'pag game night natin iba yung persona niya.
Oo nga eh, nagulat
Oo.
ako. Kasi nung nakinig ako ng podcast niya, parang Coping with Carissa. Tapos
Parang,
bigla nung game night, ala, ba't parang ibang tao to?
nagmumura. Yung sa
Nagulat ako
game night
eh.
may Tourette.
Oo.
Ayan.
So, yun yung curious case ni Billy Milligan. So, ang question
Mm.
natin for today, kayo ba creepers? May mga alters ba kayo?
Yes, kaya niyo bang mag-split?
I-tweet nyo kami. Let us know.
Using your altar.
Use using other use hashtag CryptsilogES. Tapos, ayun, makipagkwentuhan kayo sa amin. And
Ayan.
also, if you have additional information about Billy Milligan or something related dito
Ano
sa
yan?
pagkakaroon ng DID, ayun,
Trivia.
gamitin nyo rin
Yan.
yung CryptsilogES. Hashtag CryptsilogES.
Or if
And
as
let us
usual
know.
may mali kaming nasabi sa mga ano namin,
Oo, yeah, totoo.
paki-correct na lang.
Oo, ayan. Sabihan nyo kami.
Right.
Also, follow us sa Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. That's Cripsilog.
Yes, and like and subscribe sa YouTube,
Oh,
Creepsilog.
wow! May YouTube na.
Comment down
Sa
below.
Cripsilog pa din, di ba? And
Mm.
also, you can send in your stories kung gusto nyo
Mm.
mag-share ng stories sa amin sa Gmail via cripsilog@gmail.com
Or
and
Curious
Curious Cat,
Cat.
di ba?
Mm.
Sa
Yeah.
Cripsilog din. Or Cripsilog everywhere.
Right. Lapagan na ng altar. Ay, thanks,
Magkaalaman na,
Gids.
no? Ng altar.
Thanks sa ano, sa pag-present nito. This is really interesting.
Walang anuman. And yun, salamat kila Mike Andres for suggesting this and kay Jade for helping us with the
Thank
research.
you, Jade.
Thank you, Jade. And also, ano pa ba? Listen to local podcasts, di ba? Support local podcasts. Listen to Cutprint Podcast Network shows.
Yes, our podcast friends, our pod sibs.
Podcast friends, yeah. Oo. And ano, the dumbfounded. Mga ganon.
Special mention.
Oo.
What else?
Register to vote. Meron sila up to Sunday. Sorry, Saturday lang, di ba? iregistra.comelec.gov.ph/CEF1.
Yes.
What else? Ayun lang. See you guys next time. Ikaw
Yeah.
is there anything else from your end?
Wala na. From all of my personalities, wala na.
Wala na. Ilan ba? Ilan ba yan? Ilan ba alters mo? And sa akin din, wala na. Thank you very much for staying with us, for listening, and for watching, di ba, sa YouTube.
Yeah.
My name is Gideon.
This is Glenn.
Mercy and compassion.
And productivity, bitches.
Buyers.
Bye.
Ay, titingin sa camera. Bye.
Bye. Actually, hindi ko alam kung
Stop.
aling lens ng camera yung tama kasi 'di ba marami. So minsan
Oo nga
akala
eh.
mo nakatingin ka sa cam pero hindi ko alam kung
Iba na
alin
pala.
dun. So parang minsan off cam yung tingin. Anyway.
kailangan oh, oh, ano.
Stop ko
Ay
na
ay
lahat.
oo, na-stop ko na yung ano.